Hello everyone and welcome. We decided to do something different today. We're at the beginning of the trail for the spot that we like to go in the summer. We're going to try and hike in and maybe go and have some lunch. Let me strap on my pack and we'll go for a walk. We made it to camp. Princess Lucy already has her comfortable spot. The bag is hung up. Anna's swept off the rock around the fire pit. We still have our chairs from last year and the table that Anne built. And then if we come back here, because we come out here quite often in the summer, 2 years ago, I spent a little bit of time and I built a small outhouse, all tied together with paracord. I just put 6mm clear plastic on the roof, and everything's still dry, everything's still standing, it's still solid, so it's doing its job. That's perfect. Now I want to take a walk down to the river. See, there's never ever water there. Right here is where I usually leave my canoe overnight. All this water is usually dry. And if you look right between those two little brush is where I usually launch the canoe. And then if we head this way, there's a little trail over here. And we like to come and spend some afternoons out here. This spot right here is where we first set up our tent the very first time we camped out here. Beautiful spot. Wow, is the water ever up? It's getting close to that stump, and it's never close to that stump. don't know if you can see it, but right about there is where we can usually get to. So the water's up at least a foot. Oh yeah, you see that rock right over there, this long one? In the summer, I can usually walk along the rocks and I go stand there and fish. So yeah, the river's up a little bit, which it always is in the spring. All right, let's head back to camp. I went out and got a branch and I'm cutting it up into short pieces for the gasifier stove. I bought the MSR Stowaway camping pot. It's a 1.1 liter pot, but I bought it because the reviews on it said that it would fit the Ohuhu stove that I have. Now, I decided to try it with the Mastiff Gears stove, which is just a touch higher than the Ohuhu, and it does fit. And I prefer that stove. So, I'm going to cut up some wood. We're going to fill her up, and then we're going to use that and make some lunch. Now, baton some of this down. I picked up MSR Stowaway 1.1 liter pot, and it's the perfect size. That when I open it up, my Mastiff Gears stove fits right inside. So I'm going to set this up. We're going to fill it up, and we'll see what we brought for lunch. Got a nice flat rock here that I can put it on. And it should work out perfect. Oh, I cut up that branch. And I'm dropping everything. Let's put that back there. Let's see if we can't load this thing up. And use one of my fire starters. Spread it out, get some fine fibers. And I threw in this one the woods ferro rod that I had. There we go. I keep that in the bag for the stove. And that way it doesn't matter where I go, there's always one with the stove. If I happen to lose the one that's on me, or I forget one, or... So now the stove is burning nicely. I packed in these bowls, there it is, a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to pour just a little bit of that in the pan. Let that start to heat. And in this bowl, I chopped up some onions, just because the onion was too big to fit in the bowl. So I chopped it at home. I'll slide the onions in there. Got a small cutting board. And I brought some mushrooms. Now I pre-washed the mushrooms at home so that I can just slice them up, throw them in. I also brought 2 cloves of garlic. Brought my wooden spoon. Give that a bit of a stir. I'm going to put just a little bit more oil in there so it doesn't stick to the bottom. And finally, chicken. I bought 1 chicken breast and I cut it up into small chunks. So we're going to get that in there. And let that heat up and brown. And then we'll move on to the rest of lunch. I had to turn the stove just a little bit because the wind is coming in this way and it was just taking too long. Now that I've turned it, it's working fantastic. The chicken and the onions and mushrooms are pretty much done. So now, I'm going to put all of this into one of these bowls just to keep it warm, if I can. And now we move on to the next step. Put that back on the stove. Add some water, bring it to a boil. With just a drop of olive oil. Just to keep things from sticking a little bit. Put the lid on there so it stays hot as much as possible. Once I get that water boiling, I brought some egg noodles. Once that water is boiling, I'll throw in the noodles, cook those up, mix the chicken and onions and mushrooms back in. And I brought a jar of Classico 4-cheese Alfredo sauce. It should be delicious. I just hope I didn't do like I usually do and bring too much of everything and overfill the pot. Can't wait to be able to come and camp out here again. Last year we put the canoe in down there and went down the river a ways and found a nice little island to camp on. I can't wait to go back there too. That was fun. I'm working at keeping the fire going and cooking, and Lucy and Ann have found a spot in the sun. I work, they rest. Sometimes she works and I rest. All depends on what's going on. And we now have a rolling boil. Let's get some noodles. It's nice that the handle on this pot doesn't get very hot. That may change if the flames actually hit it, but so far, it's working well. Hey, Luce. Sniffing around. Now, I didn't put all the noodles in because I realized right away that if I do, nothing else is going to fit in the pot. But that should be enough with the chicken and the onions and mushrooms and everything else. That'll be plenty for lunch. So the noodles are ready. Let me step off camera here and drain them. Give this a bit of a stir. Trying not to lose too much of it. Add in some Alfredo sauce. This chair I'm sitting on, we built these chairs last year, eh? Yeah, we built these chairs last spring. So they were here all summer. And they spent the winter in the snow. And they're still holding up, so we did something right. Okay. Put that back on the stove for a couple of minutes. Oh, and here come those clouds. Nah, they said it might rain this afternoon. We should be able to get lucky and at least eat before we get out of here. We couldn't stay long today anyway, so hopefully we can get done before it rains. Oh, look at that. Doesn't that just look delicious? Watch your thumb there. I don't want to. You want to grab the other bowl? Thank you. We're gonna have to wash that before we put it back in the backpack. And apparently the lid doesn't get very hot because I've been able to grab the cover just with my fingers. Yeah, definitely delicious. Now it's time to put the stove away. Goes back together nicely. I'm just wearing my gloves so that they don't get all full of soot. Or my hands don't get all full of soot. Now, I cleaned out the inside of that pot as best I could. I'll give it a good scrub when I get home. But the one drawback, and the only drawback I can find to this, is now it's all covered in soot. So when I try and put it in the bag, it'll dirty everything in my backpack. Oh. It just barely fits.
The wind's not cooperating.
No, that wind is not helping me at all.
Wow. It's going up more.
So I gotta put this inside. Because if I leave it on the outside, it sits the pot just a bit too high and the lid won't go on. I mean, it barely fits in there. And with that little bit of a raised lid, and there you have it. But like I said, the one and only drawback is it's all covered in soot. So, to avoid that, brought a plastic bag, put all the dirty dishes in there, throw the pot on the ground, pick it back up, and then put it in the plastic bag. And now I can put it all in my pack sack. Nothing's going to get dirty. And I can clean it up a lot better when I get home. Oh, once I was done cooking, I dumped the coals into the fire pit there and we threw a few branches on it. And the fire took off again. So I think we're going to pack up and we're going to sit by the fire and hope it doesn't rain. If it starts to rain, we'll take off. If not, we might enjoy the afternoon for a while and go home a little bit later. So that's going to be it for today. We're going to enjoy this little fire as long as we can. And then we're going to head out of here. We appreciate you coming along. It's always a fantastic time. And we'll see you on the next one.